Good evening, I'm Byron Scott with a CTV News Update. It's Sine Die in Annapolis, the last day of the 90-day legislative session. From gun control to cannabis, lawmakers are calling it a success. This is how Senate President Bill Ferguson characterized the 2023 legislative session.
We got all of our major priorities done for the most part. Just some last-minute things to do today, and I think we can walk out of here at midnight saying that we've really done well for the people of Maryland.
As for the big items,
number one, we passed a balanced budget that puts money aside and invests in our priorities. It's our most important job. We did it this year with a new constitutional authority. I'm very proud of where we landed. Put money aside for public education in future years, invested in infrastructure, invested in healthcare and the environment.
Lawmakers passed gun control legislation limiting who can carry guns and where. Also, the framework for the cannabis industry is in place. It includes a 9% sales tax.
This, like many of our other really tough bills, is going to require some ongoing work. So we probably are going to miss a few things this first go around, but next year we'll be able to clean it up.
Lawmakers also passed legislation expanding access to health care.
We also passed a major mental health care bill package, which was really, really important, top priority for us.
Very proud of all of the things that we've already got accomplished.
Delegate Malcolm Augustine credits the goals of the session to support coming from the governor's office.
It has been very, very, very refreshing to be able to work with the governor and his team, his secretaries. I think that has really contributed to our ability to have this outstanding session.
But as always, not everyone is happy. Members of CASA are disappointed that a bill that would have expanded health care to anyone, regardless of immigration status, did not pass.
The fight isn't over. Immigrants in Maryland still need care, even though the Senate didn't approve this bill next year. So we're going to continue fighting for policy change and advocating for inclusion and equity in the healthcare field.
Lawmakers say they plan to be in session until midnight tonight.
I think there's a lot of cleanup. I mean, we still have some things that are being worked out, but we're really close on most everything. So that's about it. I think it's going to be a relatively smooth day.
And the session ends with Democrats in control of the legislature and governor's office for the first time in 8 years. Well, lawmakers strike a deal to create 2 more slots on the Maryland Stadium Authority Board. One will be a new seat of Prince George's County. The arrangement will allow the county executive to appoint a member to the board, just as the Baltimore mayor currently does. A deadlock had threatened a Senate floor fight today after a committee had dropped a provision of the House bill that granted Prince George's the extra seat. But on Saturday, a compromise was made that added the county seat back, plus another one picked by the governor. That would bring the total number of members on the board to 11. And as the 2023 session comes to an end this year, one issue is sure to carry over. Patricia Vallone joins us now with the story she's been working on over the last 3 months.
That's right. Over the last 90 days, Maryland lawmakers have spent countless hours working on state and local issues. Many will return to their districts and work a second job during the interim. Others will continue their work as public servants for the entire year, but never receive a dime more for their services. That's because all Maryland lawmakers get a set salary, and that pay has recently come under scrutiny.
I wouldn't have been able to do it, especially with I have a preschooler and I have another child on the way. I wouldn't have been able to do it unless my wife was the breadwinner.
Delegate Vaughn Stewart is talking about the pay for Maryland lawmakers, which generally works out to about $50,000 for the 90-day session. Problem is, many lawmakers say it's not really a part-time job. State legislators spend large amounts of time assisting constituents, studying state issues during the interim, and campaigning for re-election. And during the pandemic, lawmakers say the job was often 24/7.
Even though we're in session 90 days, a lot of people think that, we're in session and they think, well, that's not bad for 90 days of work. Well, it's 90 days of full-time plus work, and also all the time that we spend in our communities.
Finding outside work isn't always easy. Not every employer wants to hire someone who's been out for 3 months of the year. And conflicts of interest make some lawmakers have to assess the job that they take.
Honest to God, I work 7 days a week. My phone rings and I answer, and it doesn't matter that it's Christmas or New Year's.
Delegate Joseline Pena-Melnick says she chooses to do the position full-time because the need is there. But she, like Delegate Stewart, have a support system back home.
It gives me really a lot of gratification to be able to help someone who's losing their home or someone who cannot find, a doctor that accepts Medicaid or Medicare. I mean, people call us for a lot of different issues.
But the current system places a particular burden on one group of people, single parents, who may only have the one income to rely upon, or who may have trouble finding adequate child care with such unusual hours.
And so that makes it challenging for people that want to throw themselves fully into this, because they basically have to have some sort of family situation, lucky family situation, that allows them to do this. And it limits the pool of people that can be legislators.
It is challenging to make this work, especially if you don't have a second job. And for people that have a second job, it's a real balancing act. It's very challenging to do another job along with this job, especially during this 90-day session.
According to the National Conference of State Legislatures, full-time assemblies are generally well paid and have large staffs, such as California and Pennsylvania. For part-time legislatures, such as West Virginia and New Mexico, the pay is quite low and staffs are small. There are also hybrid chambers, which spend about 2/3 of their full-time job as lawmakers. The income is higher than part-timers, but often not sufficient enough to survive without another source of income. Maryland falls into the hybrid category. While many state lawmakers think a change needs to be made, not everyone wants a full-time legislature.
I think the current process has worked well. So the case has to be made for me to support a change in the process.
Having a political office is a career. I'm not sure that's the best thing. I think sometimes you lose focus because then that's all you're working for is to stay elected. So if you can balance the two, you can bring that knowledge you have from your other job to a position in the state legislature to be able to pass laws that work for the working class people.
We generally don't work on Monday until Monday evening, until later in the session. And then the rest of the year, we're supposed to have another profession where we bring that expertise and knowledge to the legislature to help craft laws. So I resist any efforts to make it a full-time legislature. And consequently, I think the pay is adequate for what we do.
It also hasn't been easy to attract staff with the stipends given to lawmakers, although it has gotten easier after chamber leaders recently increased staff pay and incentives. Ultimately, it could be voters who decide if changes need to be made to the current system.
This is a full-time job for a lot of us. I'm not sure where the leadership in the state, including the governor, is on salaries. I know there's other states that do it differently, where they have part-time legislators and then they also have full-time legislatures. So that's a question for our state, and it's a question for the people of Maryland to change our constitution, because it was going to take that in order to change the way we do business here in the state of Maryland.
And a recent change to federal law has added some lawmakers some concerns. Stipends for Annapolis housing now must be claimed on federal taxes as income, creating an even tougher burden for some legislators. Delegate Mary Lehman says that newest ruling has forced her to cut back how many nights that she can stay in Annapolis during the session. Those funds, by the way, go directly to the lodging or hotel and not to the lawmakers.
And you're watching CTV News. I'm Byron Scott. Coming up, details on a sinkhole in Bowie after the break. Stay tuned.
Just seeing the flood damage at Mom and Dad's house.
Oh my gosh, it looks like they're going to have to get the entire basement redone.
I'm just glad they're safe.
And that they have the money saved to cover what insurance won't.
I don't know that I'd be able to do the same.
You really need to get a rainy day fund. John and I have been working on ours. We downloaded the FEMA app and got a bunch of tips on how to get prepared financially. Want me to show you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take steps now to make sure you're ready in an emergency. Download the FEMA app today to get tips on financial resiliency and disaster preparedness.
Welcome back. An Oxon Hill daycare employee has been arrested and charged with multiple counts of child abuse and assault. 23-year-old Kayla Greenwell was arrested Saturday after police identified her in a self-recording abusing young children. Investigators say the video shows Greenwell picking up, slamming, kicking toddlers that attend the Oxon Hill Center for Early Learning. The center informed parents and fired Greenwell. Anyone with additional information should call detectives at 301-772-4930. We now know the name of the man who was fatally shot in Landover over the weekend. He's identified as 51-year-old Michael West Point of the district. Police were called to the 2600 block of Kent Village Drive on Saturday evening for a report of a shooting. West Point was found outside suffering from gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead on the scene. A $25,000 reward is being offered to anyone with information that leads to an arrest and indictment in this case. And a sinkhole opened up in Bowie over the weekend. This is the scene at Maple Drive where crews continue to work to stabilize the ground. Maple Drive is the same street where an 8-foot sinkhole opened last year. The road remains closed to traffic and pedestrians. And a Prince George's man has been charged with arson in connection with an apartment fire in Temple Hills last week. This is 50-year-old Anthony Cooper. Charges include first and second-degree arson, as well as reckless endangerment. The fire broke out in the apartment building on the 3300 block of Huntley Square Drive Thursday night. Investigators say Cooper was detained at the scene and admitted to starting that fire. When a person returns home from prison, they often face many challenges. The county wants to address these issues in a summit later this month. County Executive Angela Also Brooks and the county's Returning Citizens Affairs Division will host a Returning Citizens Summit on April 29th. The event will feature panel discussions and workshops focused on reducing recidivism and transitioning from people from prison, the life back to at home. Now, county officials are calling their work an important public safety strategy.
Oftentimes our men and women come home, and when they don't have opportunities for employment and for treatment resources, they end up back in the same lifestyle that landed them in prison in the first place. And so that impacts the safety in the county. And so we think that our reentry strategy is a public safety strategy because we get to keep those men and women out of the situations that got them incarcerated in the first place and onto more productive lifestyles.
The event takes place from 9 until 2 p.m. at the Center for Performing Arts at Prince George's Community College on April 29th. April is also National Second Chance Awareness Month. And stay right there. Back in a moment, more news.
I can't watch my granddaughter burn. I mean, I kept thinking if our car catches on fire, I can't watch that. And it really was like a fire tornado. All around us, there were people panicking. I do think it's important to have a plan, especially for connecting and also for people knowing where things are.
Well, in sports, the Wizards closed out their season with a loss at home to the Houston Rockets. They finished with a 35-47 record in 12th place in the Eastern Conference. Washington will miss the postseason for the second consecutive year and for the fourth time in 5 years. After the game, head coach Wes Unseld Jr. talked about how the team made him proud this season.
I'm proud of the effort. I'm proud of the fact that we were able to go through some things this year and show a ton of resilience, to keep playing and competing together. That's something I think you can be proud of.
For me personally, the year's been amazing. Just a great experience, kind of really my first year actually playing in NBA, so just understanding the ups and downs with it and never taking a day for granted and just trying to live in the moment every day.
I ain't really even processed it right now. I feel like once I get home and everything settled down and I get the chance to really process, the opportunity I was just given and, how I took advantage of it, everything that I worked for, coming to fruition, just staying down through all the turmoil, all the ups, all the downs, all the positive, all the negative, I feel like all of that just built character to kind of who I am today and the performance I was able to give today.
And now it's time for a quick check on our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, clear with a low around 39 degrees. Tuesday, sunny with a high near 74. Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high near 81. Thursday, the high temperature that day, 85 degrees. And now for the community calendar, bring your family and friends to the Spring Arts and Craft Market. The City of Bowie is hosting the event this Saturday from 9 until 2 in the afternoon at the Bowie Senior Center. It's a great time to grab one-of-a-kind gift for Mother's Day, and the event, you should know, is open to the public. And that's our news for tonight. I'm Byron Scott. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.